laugh again.
Good morning and welcome to NUFC Matters with me, Steve Wraith and Liam Kennedy. And slightly shorter show today because Liam and I have both got quite a lot on. So we're going to go to the Twitter questions first and then we'll get into the chat. How are you doing, Liam? You okay?
Yeah, I'm all good. I've just literally, the doors just went. Do you want to do Hi, give us 2 seconds. Give us 2 seconds, honestly.
Okay, well, I'll give a shout out to the sponsors while Liam goes off for a break. It's big thank you, as always, to Spider VPN. Basically, Google Spider VPN, they come up at the top of your Google search list, and they are the boys to trust to protect your computer from anyone trying to hack it or stealing passwords or photographs, whatever you've got on your computer. Google Spider VPN, they are the boys to trust. Also, skipsandbins.com, telephone 0800 25 45 25 3, email inquiries at skipsandbins.com, website www.skipsandbins.com. Easy contract free and pay as you go waste collection. Also, thanks to L&G Family Funeral Directors, 01913 389 7245, and qtechshop.co.uk, the makers of pool tables and snooker tables in Wallsend, Newcastle. Thanks also to Jab Signature, jabsignature.co.uk. And if you're a first-time visitor to the channel, click Newcastle Legends to subscribe, hit the thumb up to like the video, click share to share to your social media, and drop into the comments box to speak to like-minded Newcastle fans. We're also available as a podcast on iTunes, Spotify, and other podcast providers. Usually goes up 24 hours after the show. Don't forget as well, we've got a couple of events coming up. Beardsley on Friday night, 26th of November, 7 o'clock at the Irish Club. Tickets, newcastlelegends.com, click shop. Also, we have an event with the Food Bank on the 9th of December at Bobix, which was the Punch Bowl in Jesmond. Tickets for that one, bobix.com. Drop onto the Food Bank's website as well, NUFC fans, foodbank.co.uk, to make a donation or to buy a raffle ticket for the signed Peter Beardsley trainers. The draw for that will be made on Friday. And don't forget as well, you can get your NUFC Matters membership, 25 quid, one-off payment to nufcmatters.com. And quite a few of those being taken up now. So good idea by John. Membership card, cup and scarf, and a nice little bag as well. And we've got the Eddie Howe t-shirts, which are selling quite well on the website as well, nufcmatters.com. Okay, into the questions, Liam. Who was it at the door?
So it's my son's birthday on Thursday, and we're expecting a few deliveries coming through today. So I was just double checking it was the gifts, and it was. So I'm quite happy.
Well, you've been in, and can we say happy birthday to Joelinton for life, because it's his birthday today. He's 63, and he says, "Can I see him? Can I see Liam's boxer dog, please?"
Yeah. Do you know? 2 seconds. I'll see if I can get her in here. Can you see her?
Oh, there you go.
There's Luna.
Some size now.
Oh, I know. She hasn't stayed a puppy for very long.
Geordie to my life, there you go. Hope that's made your birthday, lad. We'll come back to the chat after I've got through a few of these questions on Twitter. Stu Taylor says, do you feel that defence will continue to evolve? Another couple of changes, maybe. Dubravka and Lewis returning. Also, the Fernandes situation. And do you feel Jones's input is stopping his inclusion? Good question, Stu.
It is a really good question. Number of layers to it. I'll try and be as quick as I can because I know it's a shorter show. I think Dubravka's the obvious change. I think they will get better as a team the more that they train together in this new regime and style of play. I'm honestly not sure what the situation is with Fernandes. It's a question that'll have to be asked. I don't know whether Jones is having an impact on that. It seems bizarre that Fernandes has been totally cut out of the equation. Very strange, in fact. I do think that Fernandes has gone over the hill, personally. But I still think, even though he's gone over the hill, I think he's still probably Newcastle's best defender. He hasn't been the same since that time out with COVID and the injury that he had. Hasn't quite come back. Could that be age? Could that just be that, he's just a year older? I'm not sure. But I think they will get better. I'll quickly say that I was really quite down on Saturday night after watching it, because I'd almost built myself up to saying this is an absolute must-win. But I think with a couple of days to reflect on the game at the weekend, I think there are a lot of positives to take. And I think if they play like that, look, defending is a big problem. They're not good enough as a defensive unit. But if they play like that against Burnley and they play like that against Norwich, I suspect they will win those games. They'll score goals and they'll beat teams. They'll concede goals along the way, and you can only hope that, like I said, working together in this format with these new coaches will improve them slightly. But Howe isn't a defensive coach, isn't somebody's Bournemouth team. Got to remember his Bournemouth team that Newcastle went down there and beat 4-1 when they got relegated. It's probably one of the worst Premier League teams I've seen. But that wasn't a reflection on Howe. I think a lot of the good work he did was sort of eroded in that final season. But defensive stuff was never really their thing. They played positive stuff and scored goals from memory. And I think that looking at what he put out there on Saturday, it looks like that's going to be exactly the same thing at Newcastle United as well.
Yeah, definitely does. Colin Wilson says, Elliot Anderson hat-trick last night. Do you think he's earned the chance of a first team start? And he says, director of football, lots of people asking this, are we any nearer bringing somebody in?
I don't think he's earned a start. I think he's a player that could have done with a loan move. We don't want to see him stagnate, but injuries have held him back. He's just gone through that period where a lot of young players have in their late teens, where they'll pick up injuries, and it's just a developmental thing. And I think he doesn't deserve a starting place, but I think he deserves to be in a conversation. And from what I'm hearing, I think he's impressed. I think Joe White's impressed. The new management team. So I think it's just a wait and see with those. I think a good move for an Elliot Anderson is to make sure he stays fit between now and January, and getting himself away for a loan move would be a really positive step, rather than being thrown into the Newcastle United first team. But look, the coaches see them every day and think if you think he's absolutely ready, then fair enough. But I would suggest he probably there's other players I would probably play ahead of him at this moment in time. On the director of football thing, like I said, I haven't heard anything more since the conversation I had with you guys last week. I haven't heard a lot more. Look, you see people with these rumours and things like that, but like I say, the last solid conversations I had was the all the stuff being played down. That doesn't necessarily mean that it is not true. Could easily be a regime potentially learning the error of their ways, just being a bit cuter about things, given the backlash that a lot of the national media threw their way towards the Emery thing. So yeah, I think we'll just have to wait and see on that one.
Right, okay. South Shields man Kenny says, after what we thought was an easy game, Eddie has obviously made an impact. What do you think we need to do first to pick up the much needed points with the current squad?
For me personally, I think and it's one everybody's talking about, is Martin Dubravka has to come in. He would have came in last week for me. What I would say about the Dubravka one is we don't know the full picture. We do know that it was a really bad injury with a lot of complications that went along with it. Hadn't played a game until he played for Slovakia since he last played Slovakia, and had that horror in the Euros against Spain, where he dropped at least one or two clangers. I think he's somebody who ideally would want to get a couple of games under your belt. I think one thing that possibly didn't help the situation, if Dubravka hadn't gone on international duty, but he needed to get the game. But if he hadn't gone, might he have had more chance of playing? I think possibly. I actually feel for Carl Darlow at the weekend. Look, I think Dubravka's hands down a much better goalkeeper. Keeper is on a different level to Darlow, but it doesn't mean I'm critical of Darlow. But I think he looked like a lad who had the weight of the world on his shoulders after making that early mistake. I think he looked like a bag of nerves for the rest of the game. Every time the ball went to his feet, every time a cross came in, he looked an absolute bag of nerves. And that to me looked like a lad who knows that everybody's talking about Dubravka sitting on the bench. And it looked like he's kind of come to the end. And I think it would be a strange decision not to make that change. Look, if he didn't make the change, I could probably still make an excuse to say why he didn't. It's never good for morale to drop people on the back of an obvious error like that, if you rate them and if you think they're good. But I think for the team, and I think the timing, I think the amount of games we have left, time is precious, and I think points are precious too. So they need to put Martin Dubravka, who they've got more chance of winning points under because he's a better goalkeeper, into the team. That would be the first change I would make. I would be considering Fernandez. I think Fabian Shaw, a lot of people have asked for him back in the team. He looked so undercooked in terms of match practice. It was beyond belief. Look, he isn't the best defender. He can be a bit rash. Is a good footballer. We all know that, of course. But some of his defending was schoolboy stuff against Ivan Toney. He was bullied at times. getting the wrong side. Just his balance was all wrong, and that looked like a player to me who hadn't played games. And you've got to remember, I don't know the stats, but I think probably for about the last 8-9 months, barely kicked the ball for Newcastle United, really, consistently. I think he'd only started 2 games this season. He started at Aston Villa from memory, and he started maybe another game, maybe the Southampton game at home in the league. Never seen anywhere since. Didn't play the League Cup, didn't play any other Premier League games, and looked like a player that's only been playing international football for the last 6, 7, 8 months. But I would persist with Shaw personally, because I think he adds ball playing ability to the side, if a bit rash defensively. But I would really consider bringing Fernandez in at some point, possibly for Lascelles or Kieran Clark, one of the two anyway. The fullbacks is a massive problem. I know I'm waffling here, but I want to get it off my chest. The fullbacks in this system are just a huge problem. They're always going to be a problem. Matt Ritchie, I like him. I like him as a player. Ask him to do a defensive job. He can't do it. He just has not got that in his locker. If a team ever needed, if they're going to go to a 4 at the back, or even if it stays a 3, I've never known a team need a Paul Dummett so much. They're desperate for a Paul Dummett to come back, because he'll play on the left of that 3, or he'll go in as a proper left back. And what you'll get from Paul Dummett is he'll not be out of position. He'll always be where he should be, and he'll do the defensive work. Yes, he's not going to produce deliveries like Matt Ritchie can. Another assist, but was he partly? I think he was to blame for the second goal. I think he wasn't great for the first one, with a little bit of pinball that ends up going through to Tony. But the second one, where he just makes a token effort to try and stop the guy drifting across and then putting the crossfield ball in, and then Jacob Murphy being in a different postcode to the guy who put the ball in the back of the net. That just shows you're playing 2 wide midfielders or wingers, or whatever you want to call them, in full-back positions. It's not what they do. It's never what they've done. And it's no surprise that they're getting caught out week after week.
Yeah, okay. Move on to the next question now, and that's from Dave Wild. He says, I've been saying it for a while, so it's not an overreaction to his hat-trick last night, but it's about time Elliot Anderson was thrown into the first-team squad. Before he touched on that a little bit earlier, Jerry says, in addition to bolstering the defence, do you think the January window should include another striker and perhaps a goalie as well? Darlow's under par, and Dubravka could always be an injury worry.
I wouldn't be worrying about a goalkeeper. If I'm wanting to transform this team, I think there's enough forward players in this team to get goals in the side, and I've always thought that. I think you've got Joelinton with the physicality. It was unbelievable, by the way, at the weekend. But
this takes into Phil's question, then he goes, sorry. What was the single biggest difference you saw in our performance on Saturday?
Right. Well, I'll quickly finish that one, and then I'll come on to that one. I think I wouldn't go for a goalkeeper. I think a striker would be kind of third on my list. 4th, possibly, if you're going to sign 4 players. I think they need at least 1 wing-back or full-back, depending on what system they're going to play. They need 2 centre-halves, in my opinion. And they need a midfielder. And beyond that, then I'll be looking to say, can we get a striker in? But I think there's enough bodies and ability in the forward areas, even though we've not seen it over time. And I was coming on to Joelinton, of course, and what he was a big difference. He was one of the major differences. But even that, me saying that, is possibly a little bit unfair on him, because I've been saying it on here. Some people don't like it, some people do. I think you can pinpoint Joelinton's minor transformation at Newcastle United to West Brom earlier this year. Played against West Brom, was a dull ball draw, but there was a sign there that something had changed. Was he getting used to the physicality of the game? Maybe he was. He does a lot of good work, and I think that, for me, it was his best game at Newcastle United. But the reason why he'll never get the people who've already made their mind up on him, which is fair enough as well, because he was dreadful for the best part of 14, 15 months at the start of his time, cost a lot of money as well. He'll never get those critics off his back when he looks like Bambi on ice at times, when he's about to hit the ball. That was quite incredible, that I don't know why he's trying to chop back onto his left foot. The guy's right-footed. Don't know why he's trying to chop back onto his left. Just hit the ball. Just put the, take the leather off it and put it in the back of the net, like you did with your left foot for the first one. I just think I felt look, you couldn't ask any more. And what I'll say about Joelinton for me, and again, this'll so he's a Marmite figure, and this will divide opinion, my opinion on it, but this is my opinion. I think if he produces performances like that every single week and misses chances like he did, I'm willing to accept that. Because
he was good. He was better. He was a lot better. He was man of the match. Him and Shelby were head and shoulders above everybody else on the pitch.
His work rate, honestly, his work rate was incredible. Like his recoveries, like chasing defenders down, winning the ball. And yes, people say, oh, you should do that, but that's not what everybody does. Callum Wilson didn't do it, nor did Alan St. Maximin. It was on Joelinton to do it. He gave a different element. Look, he can't take players on like Alan St. Maximin can. He hasn't got that pace. He hasn't got that skill. He has nowhere near got the finishing ability or the nous, the know-how of where to be in that Callum Wilson has. But neither of those two have got the physicality that he's got, and neither of those two showed anywhere near the same work rate and ability to win the ball back high up the pitch as what Joelinton did. So if those three play to all of their strengths individually as a front three, if that's what he's going to play, I think we'll win games this season, and I'm confident that we will.
Yeah, me too. I've got to win those 2 home games, of course. That's the big ones. We've got to beat Norwich and we've got to beat Burnley. Craig Wolf says, hi, Steve and Liam. If you've got to pick one player currently out of the squad, which player do you think will improve the most with Eddie Howe as manager, like Willock did at the end of last season?
Out of the squad?
Yeah.
So out of the I'll start with one. I'll say quickly, out of the team, for me, the one who's out of the team would be Ryan Fraser. And then the one that's out of the squad, as you say, would be an Elliot Anderson.
Okay, yeah, I'd say Fraser's definitely going to benefit. I'd say one who's out of the team at the moment is probably Lewis. I think he'll benefit as well. I think we'll see a different player in him in some way, shape or form. Ian asks a question. Ian Hull, are you heartened by how we attacked on Saturday to give us hope to stop up? And do you think it also highlighted the fact that Dubravka needs to be in goal and Fernandez back in defence for this weekend? So we've touched on the defence and the goalkeeper. Are you heartened how we attacked on Saturday? Did it bring a smile to your face? You know, because we did hit 23 shots on goal.
We've never attacked like that for years, Steve. We've never got close to looking like that. It wasn't just a slapdash sort of attack like it was against Leeds, where it was, you know, I'll hit you and you come back and hit me back, and then it was to and fro constantly. This was like there was a system to it. It was calculated. You could see that you could see little tactics and approaches at play, and it was positive to see because it was cohesive as an attacking unit. Look, defensively, cut out the individual errors, and that's an easy thing to say, but you cut the individual errors out and Brentford will probably beat them quite comfortably. Defensively as a unit, they didn't defend great, but they didn't give a boatload of chances away, which has happened a lot this season. It was just really poor individual errors for a lot of the opportunities that they did give away. That's you can't coach that, by the way. That's bad players make mistakes. They make more mistakes than good players do. And that's ultimately where we stand with the defensive unit, is that we got away with it last year because they were all a year younger. They're an aging, less than mobile, never top quality, any of them, defensive unit that's got a year older. And they look it. They look like they're struggling, but Dubravka makes a difference. Dubravka made a difference then last season, and I'll put it down as fact. Dubravka will make a difference again when he's brought into this side. I just hope that all of that studying that Eddie Howe's done in his time off, and he said he's done a lot of studying of Newcastle United, he can see that too.
Okay. Brian says, why isn't the nice guy of football management, Steve Bruce, in line for the Man U job?
I don't know what's going on there, but he seems to have put his hat in the ring, hasn't he? The bit that I didn't understand was that I've seen the reports, of course. I don't have any inside information on it, of course, but I've seen all the reports as you guys did yesterday coming out. And I've seen some of this, it might be in the MEN or something like that, give almost a justification on what Bruce's camp was saying. Like, he was sort of suggesting he could put arm around the players, he could get the players back together, a little bit of unity. And I was reading it thinking, is that not what everybody's been saying Solskjaer actually did? Is that not the thing that they said after Mourinho The only positive that Solskjaer had was he brought the team together. He brought a little bit of he brought Man United back. And so what's Steve Bruce going to do? The same again? I think you need tactics, mate, and you're not the man.
Des says he's at work till 6 o'clock, so he'll catch up when he gets in. He says, do you think we will sign players in January with the thought of getting promotion in mind? So he feels we might go down.
No. Full stop, no. I don't think anybody who bought this football club or who is involved at this football club now is scouting players because you might go down. I don't think it's happening.
Yeah, okay. Robbo says, with a temporary ban on sponsorship ending on Thursday, have you heard any whispers if the Sports Direct signs will be replaced on Friday with the game-changing Saudi ones?
And no, I haven't. I haven't heard anything along those lines. So, yeah, feel free to come forward with your rumours, but I haven't heard anything on that front, no.
Yeah, me neither. I think they'll be up there for a little bit longer. Brian Crute, he says, do you think we can turn this around and avoid another relegation? Second part, if relegated, will the EPL push new rules into force to endure if and when we return? We can't flex our financial muscle.
It's all ifs and buts that. I'm not really going to address the relegation one because I think Newcastle can stay up. And I think anybody, it's okay to be real and say, look, it's a real threat. But there's no point in walking around saying, oh, well, should we sign players if we'll go down? What will happen if we go down? You're already accepting defeat if you're letting that come into your mindset already. It's okay to accept you're in a relegation battle, but to start already thinking, even in January, if things go badly between now and then, to think you're down. You're not down until you are down officially. And there are aces in the pack. There is a January window. There is a little bit of money to spend. So you'd think we've got a strongish hand going into January, so the players and the manager just need to hang on in there and get a few results. What I would say is I'll always look back on last season and I think, ask yourselves, everybody out there, a lot of people had Newcastle United relegated in March and even into the first week of April. A lot of people had Newcastle United relegated because of the form Fulham were picking up. We were struggling. It wouldn't have taken much for us to drop back into the bottom three at points. A lot of us had us relegated because of the games that we had up. Won at Leicester, drew at Liverpool, games like this. This is the type of thing that they're going to have to do. They're going to have to do that. Go to Arsenal, get a result. They're going to have to go to Leicester again, get a result. Get something at home against Man United. Get something, they're going to have to go and do these things, which aren't impossible to stay up. They're going to have to do more than beat. They're going to have to do the basics, beat Norwich, beat Burnley, beat the teams around you. That's how you stay up. But they're also now, because they're at a deficit, they're going to have to go and pull a couple of rabbits out the hat. And that's not out. It's football. Like I say, we had them down in March last year and they went and got won at Leicester. Nobody would have predicted that. Went and beat, drew at Liverpool. Nobody would have predicted that either. So I think you can't rule it out. And I'm not about to sit on here in November and say I think Newcastle will get relegated because there's so much football to play.
Yeah, Tuned In says, I would have said it was down to good management. Darlow was in the team leading up to Eddie's appointment. Dubravka was away on international duty. Darlow trained every day with the team. He maybe wanted to play Dubravka, but was duty bound to play Darlow. Fair point. Gerald says, hi guys, are there any financial penalties for Ashley as regards to the sale if Newcastle did get relegated?
Not to my knowledge.
No, I doubt it.
Deal's a deal and it's done. You know what I mean? So I don't think there is anything in that. I would be surprised if there is, but it's not a thing I heard either.
Philip says the training ground and academy are not fit for purpose. Do the owners see the value in building a fancy new one on a bigger plot, say near the airport? A bit like Leicester's one, not restricted by financial fair play. If so, will we hear more on that soon, or are they looking to patch up the current one? He also says, I appreciate we are bottom and not won a game yet, but a new site could take £18 million to develop. The current site will turn off potential targets like it already has. ASM's video call. I see it as a way of adding massive benefits without affecting financial fair play. Same with extending St James's Park to 70 to 80,000. A lot crammed into that one, but guess justified. They do want new training facilities, I think, don't they?
Yeah, of course. And I think it's an integral part of the plan moving forward. I think it's a crucial part of it, a cornerstone, if you will. They need to improve the training ground because you can't up the levels. Sign players expect a certain level. Look, it's the same in every walk of life. You know, if you've got a positive workplace, somewhere you want to be, somewhere you enjoy spending time, it's a comfortable place to be, plenty of space. You can because it's not just about it's not just about rocking up, doing your work and coming away 2 hours later. It's got to be a space where everybody's comfortable, a positive working environment, and it's a cramped, aging space at Benton, and I think it's something that needs adapted initially, and then scrapped within a couple of years. I would say that would be my take on it.
Birthday Boy asks, is there any news on Eddie Howe? Hopefully he'll be at the Arsenal game. Any news on his COVID? I mean, you couldn't script that, could you? Typical Newcastle.
No, I think you've got to... I'll be honest, I would say if you're going to follow the rules strictly, he's not going to be there, is he?
No.
So he was pictured in training on Friday and Thursday. So are they going to pull a fast one and say, oh, well, he was feeling symptoms on the Wednesday or the Tuesday? Or what was he doing on the training ground? Why didn't he get tested? There's going to have to be a lot of fiddling with the figures and the tests and things like that for them to get him at Arsenal. But they didn't rule it out on Saturday, his assistant. But I would be surprised if he was there.
Yeah, me too. I can't see
10 days, for anybody who doesn't know, who hasn't had it, hasn't looked at the rules, it's 10 days from your test. 10 days from your test rules him out the game. Unless he had symptoms previous to that and you go 10 days from your first symptoms. But again, you would ask the question legitimately from a medical perspective, if you had symptoms, why were you training the football team? And why weren't you tested? So it's going to be, I think it'll be a difficult one to get him out there on Wednesday. And probably from an ethical perspective, not right either.
Jade, who I know is having a cup of coffee because I saw it on Twitter, says, if Shelby is going to be a constant for the remainder of the season, do you think we need a new centre midfielder alongside him or keep the faith in Hayden and Longstaff? Another misplaced pass from Longstaff. It's all I really seem to see, and it's a pity because I really like him as a player. But yeah, do we need somebody else alongside him? Because it's quite clear that Eddie Howe likes him.
Yeah, absolutely. They absolutely need somebody alongside him. And of the two names mentioned there, for me, a really positive, hard-working professional, Isaac Hayden. But is he a Premier League midfielder? In my opinion, no. I don't think he's a Premier League midfielder. I don't know. There's been this bizarre loving over the last few years about Isaac Hayden because he puts a tackle in. You have to expect more than that of a midfielder. I like him as a player, and he's not somebody I would be immediately wanting to get rid of because I think he's somebody who can fill a number of positions. He's a good, positive pro. He'll work hard for you. But if you want Isaac Hayden to start every week, then you're in trouble, and Newcastle have found that over the last few years. They've effectively been trying to replace him in that midfield or wanting to replace him in that midfield since they got promoted. So I think he isn't the answer. Sean Longstaff, I've got grave doubts about. Gifts the possession, as you mentioned, Steve, away far too often. I think his first two, maybe first three touches were to give the ball away when he came on the weekend. And in a game like that can cost you the match. He can't be doing that. I actually like him, and I think he's got a lot of the tools to be a Premier League midfielder. But I was worried with Sean Longstaff. He's gone from being coached by the best at one point, one of the best, being moulded into something, to all of a sudden in key formative years of his career not being coached at all. Outcast by the last manager in some ways. And it does make you wonder long term, can that be brought back? Can that development be caught up? I don't know. And it's a shame because I think he has got all of the tools. He can score goals. He can break forward. He can tackle himself. He can get about. He's a good passer of the ball. But I just wonder, is that sort of lost 3 years in a key part of his career in his early 20s? Is that going to be the thing that makes him never quite reach the level he should? I don't know. I hope not, because I do think there's all the tools there to make a really good Premier League midfielder. Really good. Look, I think you make a solid Premier League midfielder, Whereas I look at Isaac Hayden and say, I don't think there is. I think Hayden lacks mobility. I think games pass Hayden by the pace of it in the Premier League midfield, and I think you can't carry that. You can't carry that in the Premier League.
No, you definitely can't. And I think the answer to your question, Jade, is yes, 100%. We do need somebody in there. And again, a lot of money to spend, but we've got to spend it in the right areas. 100%. Mozza, good to see you too. Lots of great people we met on Friday night, and as Bill Corcoran's announced, another just short of £1,800 raised for the food bank by us on Friday, along with the fantastic figure that True Faith ran and raised on the Thursday night, and with the people at the food bank, and with money doubled up by Jamie Rubin and Amanda Meerdad. A staggering £15,000 was collectively raised by Newcastle fans at the weekend. That is fantastic, isn't it?
Brilliant. It's incredible.
Absolutely fantastic. Mark says, similar question, but he says, do you think a central midfield player, a central holding midfielder, would add protection to the frail defence?
Yeah, possibly. I think it's a position they're going to have to address, but I think they need to add two defenders and one of those in midfield. That's my opinion. At least one fullback, because they're not going to be able to get by with these fullbacks. It's almost like you look at it and say, could you put a couple of other fullbacks in and switch to a 4? I'm not sure, because I think Mankio's got real. He's okay. I've called for him to be in the team at times, but then he's in the team for 5 or 6 games, and you realise why he wasn't in the team. It's one of those that he's just not good enough. He's just not really good enough. And I think Jamal Lewis, I've seen good signs of him being an attacking fullback, but I actually think this system suits him. I think if you suddenly think in your head that going back to a 4 and putting Jamal Lewis as a left back is any more than Matt Ritchie, they've got the same problems. Jamal Lewis can't defend either. He's shown real limitations in defending. Just remember back at the start of last season, look at his performances by all accounts from people who watch these games. I've spoken to a few people for Northern Ireland. He's a good, athletic, attacking fullback, but isn't a great defender. That needs coaching him. He needs help in that matter. So it's good to think that, obviously you're right, Steve, that he might improve over time with a bit of quality coaching. And I think that's probably what Jurgen Klopp saw. He's seen he'll step in for Robertson when needed every so often if he'd signed him, which they were looking to do. But coaching his defensive work, etc. In Newcastle, he needed to do a lot more defensive work, and he hasn't really been up to scratch when he's been asked to do it. So they've got problems in that area. I think it's probably been an understated area over the last 12 months, but it is particularly problematic.
Yeah, the Norwich game is absolutely huge. The players have forgot the winning feeling. We were losing against Palace, Brighton and Brentford and secured draws, but hard work. Need that win now. 5-0 will do. And yeah, those 2 games, they're on the horizon. They're crucial. I don't think anybody expects anything out of Arsenal. If we can get something out of it, it's a bonus. But the next 2 home games, absolutely crucial, Liam.
Massive. I think I said before the game that 7 points was probably the bare minimum you'd have to expect from the 3 games, the 3 home games against 2 of them newly promoted. I think you've got to look and say 7 points is what you would say is a bare minimum. And unfortunately, that one slip came in the first one. So like you say, it's a 6-pointer. They have to, two 6-pointers, they have to go and win them. They have to win those games. And look, the pressure comes off. They go to Arsenal and get a result. Arsenal will beat us. I do suspect if we defend like we did at the weekend, your Sakas, your Smith-Rowes, Aubameyangs, Lacazettes, I think they'll be 3-0 up after half an hour if we defend like that with the individual errors. But there's no reason why we can't go to Arsenal and cause them problems in an attacking sense. I watched a lot of the game against Liverpool. Liverpool, different, totally different level, but had them all over the place. And I think to suddenly write Arsenal off this weekend is a weird mentality, because we're in a par score, you would expect to go to Arsenal and get beat. This Arsenal isn't the Arsenal of 5 years ago. This Arsenal is a top end team who will finish in the top 8 probably, but they'll be on the fringes. They're not going to be up there fighting for the Champions League spots, I would imagine. So why should we be writing those games off? These are the type of games where Burnley might go and get a result there, or Norwich. So we've got to get a result. We've got to go there, and if we did, then the whole dynamic changes. If we go there and get a result, You maybe close the gap by a point or even 3, and you're going into 2 home games saying, right, we're off here. Here we go. So I think we've just got to be, writing games off, any game, whether it be Man City, who are by far, in my opinion, by far the best team in this country, and the best team this country has seen for quite a number of years, the way that they play. But even writing those games off, you cannot when points are so scarce and crucial. But look, I'm not writing anything off. I think they've got to, if they go to Arsenal, get a result, the dynamic changes of the season, and then it feels like lift off.
Last question, because I know we've got to both shoot off. Have we lost out on Lingard? Sounds like he could be going to West Ham.
I think West Ham hold the cards, don't they? Because they had him there last year. It's very much like the Willock thing that we had. I think even if other clubs had come in, he wanted to kind of come here, didn't he? So it's one of those where, at a slightly higher level, that Arsenal, West Ham hold all the cards. But I know he's a player that's definitely interesting him.
Okay, NewcastleWorld.com is where you can find Liam's work, and he's got to go and do some work now. Hence the shorter show. Apologies to everybody for that. I know you're like an hour, but sometimes it just can't be helped. But Liam, as always, appreciated, mate. See you next Tuesday, mate. Might see you at Arsenal. Take care.
Cheers, everyone.